Welcome to ECU 452 International Finance 1 General Introduction. International economics is divided into two broad classes, the international trade and international finance. International trade deals with the fundamentals governing the flows of commodities across the world, and trade among countries is beneficial. It also discusses the different kinds of policies influencing the movement of goods and services on their effects. Clearly, international trade does not talk about the payment aspect of the international transaction. Since all economic agents buy and sell economic goods, it follows that the monetary and macroeconomic aspect of international transaction should be discussed as well. This text material is essentially focused on the monetary and macroeconomic aspect of international transaction. Specifically, international finance is concerned with monetary and macroeconomic relations between countries. Further, international finance deals with real-world issues such as how macroeconomic policies affect international transactions, balance of payments problems and policy, the determinants and causes of exchange rate movement, exchange rate regimes, the problem of macroeconomic linkages between economics issues and problem of international banking and capital markets, and of course, the topical issues on international reserve holding. International finance is also referred to as international monetary economics, international macroeconomics, international finance economics, and multinational finance. All these reflect the scope of international finance. The major difference between international finance and other economic disciplines is that it studies international finance linkages and economies with different sovereign currencies. In Nigeria, for instance, a dollar was exchanged for around 22 naira in the early 90s, but by 2011, it hovered around 140 to 160 naira. In the 1970s and early 1980s, Nigeria government adopted a fixed pegged exchange rate regime at a particular amount. However, since late 1980s, the government has embarked on alternative exchange rate regime from crawling peg to managed floating exchange rate regime. Why has government adopted different exchange rate regime and for what purpose? This question is very crucial in international finance. The next two chapters examine these issues critically. Balance of payments is the record of a particular country's financial transactions with the rest of the world. For instance, Nigeria buys imports goods from the rest of the world and sells export goods and services to them. Also, capital flows from Nigeria to the rest of the world, while capital flows from the rest of the world to Nigeria. What is the implication when the value of goods and services sold to the rest of the world export is larger than the value of import from the rest of the world? Trade surplus. As it occurred in China for the past 1 decade, what is the implication of running a deficit balance of payment? Explaining the balance of payments of Nigeria will not only show the volume of transactions but also show the position of the country in the world, whether unhealthy, deficit, or unhealthy surplus, and the implication of all this. This aspect will be dealt with in Chapter 5. Many economists had predicted that the adoption of generalized floating exchange rate system in 1973 would mess up international finance as a discipline. Their thinking was that as exchange rate adjusts automatically, balance of payments will be self-correcting, and so countries will not have balance of payments problem. But they were proved wrong because instead of eliminating the problem, it actually aggravated it. In fact, in the US, where floating exchange rate is practiced, the country is still suffering from prolonged balance of payments deficit, and this has generated a serious headache for the economists. The reason why floating exchange rate may not automatically offset balance of payments problem is that it is characterized by high volatility and substantial deviations from purchasing power parities. In the quest to solve these problems, finance economists developed a series of balance of payments theories. Chapters 6, 7, and 8 and 10 discuss some of these theories. The basic objective of any government is to achieve full employment output, stable price level, and balance of payments equilibrium. However, no economy in the world has been able to achieve these three. Why is it impossible for any economy to achieve these three? Chapter 9 sheds some light to this issue and also presents some conditions to be followed should a country intend to achieve the three objectives. Each country of the world is a sovereign nation and has the statutory power to choose its own economic policies. However, some of the policies selected may be beneficial to the domestic economy, though it may actually inflict injury on other countries. For instance, a country may reduce interest rate in order to stimulate investment. This policy may lead to outflow of capital, which may cause inflation in other countries. If too much money in circulation is the cause of inflation, this may lead to conflict of interest among countries. One problem that international finance economists intend to solve is how to produce an acceptable degree of harmony among the international trade and monetary policies of different countries. This aspect is discussed fully in Chapter 12. A sophisticated economy consists of an extensive market where individuals or firms exchange money now for promises to pay in the future. The importance of trade in goods and services has been accompanied by growing international capital market, which links the capital market of individual countries. International market differ from domestic market in several ways. First, they must cope with special regulations that many countries impose on foreign investment. Second, some special risks are associated with international market. One of them is currency fluctuations. Another one is the refusal of a debtor country to pay its debt. The growing international market and their huge problem require examination, and this will be discussed fully in the next volume. The concept international capital market and foreign reserves are discussed extensively in Chapter 13. This is the end of Studies Section 1. Thanks for listening.